Which side you prefer? Okay, well, thank you for being here. Keep on doing this. And the interesting thing is so many things change always with and around you, so there's always fresh stuff to talk about. So the Ollie we got to know always is changing. What is currently for you, if you look at all the different activities you do, the most important aspect?
I think now as a public company, we do two things. We basically focus on our very large companies, like a HelloFresh, on support of Delivery Hero, on global fashion, Africa business. But secondly, we are planting the seeds for hopefully the next larger companies. And I think the key focus of us now is to invest in young companies. So this year alone, we've probably done over 25 deals already. We have invested in young companies in Germany, in the UK, in France, Spain, Eastern Europe, a little bit in America and in Asia. So I think basically being focused on planting the next generation of good companies.
And that's outside Rocket, with Rocket, or what kind of, where's the capital coming from?
So our brand for investing in third-party companies is Global Founders Capital. We have historically invested in, through that in Facebook, in LinkedIn, in Eventbrite, and many other companies. And I think we're intensifying this effort as of basically second half last year. And we have different offices, one in London, in Paris, in Berlin, obviously, but also in Jakarta, in Singapore, one in Silicon Valley. And I think the goal is basically the ecosystem evolved, and I think there are many, many opportunities outside Rocket too. Obviously, the capital is coming from Rocket and third parties. We have raised a fund. The fund has around $740 million, so it's probably the largest fund in our region. And I think different to many other people, we call ourselves a life cycle investor. What does that mean? We invest early, sometimes 200,000, 500,000, 1 million. And if the company does well, we sit together with the founding team and say, is it maybe now time to scale to 5 million funding round? And then we don't have to call someone else, but that's, we make an offer, we discuss with the founding team to make a 5 million investment. And if then the company continues well, then we offer to make a $20 million investment. And if the company does really well, we offer to make a 100 million investment. The reason being that we clearly see that American companies have much more access to capital. That is, if you like it or not, a huge competitive advantage. Even if you take the smartest founding team with significantly less capital, you will not be able to make it long term, or like your company will hit its limits. And we have companies where basically we invested from a few 100,000 already 50, 60, 70 million. Tomorrow probably we'll announce another investment of ours of over 20 million euros just ourselves, and it started with 500,000. Yeah.
Now in Rocket are quite a few companies. What do you do when some of those companies are competing with your Rocket companies? Could there be a conflict of interest?
So it's a good question. I think as professional as, for example, there is you know, a Goldman Sachs or a JP Morgan, how can they advise different clients? How can they at the same time advise a Vodafone and a Deutsche Telekom? I think it's a complete separate organization. It's a separate, there's a whole structure around it. And usually before we approach any third-party company, that's why I sit also in those teams, is we think about, do we ever want to do this model on that side? And I think we basically, I think, if you look at the incubation, we've done this year maybe 4 companies. And we've done, as I said, well over 20 companies already, and planting a lot of seeds. I think we see ourselves as an important player in this ecosystem. We can provide a very different operational value. And so it's very complementary to existing business angels or existing venture capitalists. We have lots of investments together with Index or Lakestar or Holspring, obviously, and in Asia also with Sequoia. And so I think it's working really well.
So we talked a lot about, before you arrived with the VCs on stage, what entrepreneurs should look at when they pick a VC. You seem to have two great skills in regards to people. You seem to identify great entrepreneurs, and you seem to be able to keep them loyal for a long time. What does an entrepreneur need to have in order to get funding from your group?
So I think the good thing is I do this basically now for 16 years, and I think we have a few basic principles, but I think the number one is still that in that meeting you need to feel there's a strong chemistry, and that chemistry usually is established by a founder who's really dedicated into his company. I think dedication doesn't mean he's a visionary, doesn't mean he works very hard for it, but we just want him that he really has figured out or has a clear understanding of where he wants to go and is willing to invest in that. Because I think not in money-wise, but in time, in sacrifice. I mean, we are still of the belief that most success comes from simple basics like hard work, trying, failing, and a piece of luck, but not only luck and gift of God stuff. Yeah.
Do you believe that because you guys started as entrepreneurs, you guys, I say you and your brothers, and you have been quite successful in that, now on the investing side, you are the ones able to find good entrepreneurs because you remember what it took to get from A to B?
I think we were entrepreneurs, we are entrepreneurs, and will also be in the future. I think this will never change, and I think that's in a discussion with an entrepreneur, the entrepreneur realizes on day one, or in like the first second, because basically many of the early decisions about a few 100,000 or a few millions, we fundamentally make in the meeting, because it's about understanding the founder, understanding the model, and then kind of like you think, okay, I'm going to back this person. Let's figure out some of the contract or valuations maybe in the next half an hour, in the next 20 minutes. And I think we clearly tell them already in the first meeting, I think pay a lot of attention that maybe your product, focus a lot more on the product, focus a lot more on the brand. Why are your marketing channels not scaling? Maybe you're making that wrong. Let's have a call there. Or maybe talk to Dominic from HelloFresh, or maybe talk to Ralph from Emerging Market Food Panda, yeah? Don't go to this country. Maybe historically we had more experience about this country. Netherlands always good. Or in a meeting I just had before, Amsterdam is really good. I think instead of going from here to here, go rather first there. And I think we after the first 30% of the conversation, we focus 70% of already providing value. And I think even on companies where we later not invest. Yeah. So basically, I had just an example in America. The founder is extremely grateful because we spent 2 hours and I just told him everything what I think is not right with the company.
Did you send him a bill afterwards?
No, we do that for free. Yeah,
okay.
Free lunch.
Well, before I open up the questions to the audience, I do want to talk a little bit about the IPO, which happened now a while ago. And out of my humble seat, it appears that you are quite busy explaining people what you guys are doing. There have been a few transactions, but tell me, what is the market missing? Maybe it's patience, but it's probably more than that. What's going on with the whole kind of rocket debate, and where are you going to take the group from here?
So, I think the first statement, I would always go public. Many of the things we do today, being a life cycle investor, being able to invest from $100,000 to $200 million in the company over the lifetime of this company, would not have been possible without our going public. We would have to sell all the stakes in our companies to make that possible. Secondly, I think it's really powerful for an overall ecosystem, be it in Berlin or London, to have companies public because they can fundamentally support the ecosystem in a bigger scale and serve as examples. Third, we can provide a very different value today and a very different experience to our companies because we can tell them how it's really like. And now basically coming to that experience, we are now 18 months public. Just this year alone, and this is only 5 months or whatever in this year, we've been 50% up and 50% down, yeah? But 3 times.
How does it feel?
Yeah. I think, for us, it's all fine because basically, we didn't sell any share and there's no intention. And I think what you learn is that you have to live a life with basically this public market share price changing every day, but you only look at it maybe every 2 weeks when you get bored on the weekend or something. Then basically when you're standing in a queue, yeah, you play around with your phone and then you see it, yeah? But the rest of the time, focus on one single thing, delivering a great return or building a great company, making the right choice about investments, and that's why our CFO is very busy with explaining. And I think that's definitely the lesson we have learned is in a public market environment, really have a team of people who only focuses on explaining. Also the amount of press that you get. And I think we learned a lot and we have no problem to admit our mistakes. We communicated too little in the beginning with investors, with public markets.
What do you mean at the beginning?
Okay, so maybe kind of like, I think we might even not communicate enough now, so maybe let's see about that. But I think what's very clear, long term, we do believe that our companies will, a large number of our companies will turn profitable, that we continue to create great companies, that we'll also fail a lot, and that we basically, I think, explain to the public market that we have a failure culture. A lot more, obviously, that goes successful fails, and I think that is very important to explain. And I think I'm relaxed about it. Look at it. We have in Africa the leading e-commerce company. We have raised 400 million euros for this. We sold a few months ago for the first non-Chinese company to Alibaba for $1.5 billion. Yeah, we have raised a $750 million fund. Yeah, it wasn't bad per se, and we planted a lot of seeds. And I believe in the next 24 months, many investors in the public market will see it the same way. But I'm not focused if they see it tomorrow, or in 2 weeks, or in 2 months, or in 6 months. I'm focused on those investors who stay with us somewhere between 2 and 5 years.
So looking at the growth of the portfolio companies, I mean, if you take some of the emerging markets, and somebody of my previous guests asked the question, which I should ask you, is, the emerging markets are pretty large, but also pretty unpredictable. Have you been surprised by some local market entrants in the countries? Has this been making life difficult of some of the kind of global e-commerce businesses you have?
Let me say the first thing. I think internet is great in every single country, no matter if it's called a emerging market, a mature market, a frontier market, a virgin market, a small market, a big market, whatever. So, I mean, what changes is the front line of the FT. Emerging markets hot, emerging markets cold. But usually the people are still there, even if the emerging market is cold. And basically, they still have some money. So, and secondly, and most important, the offline to online shift continues. We've been growing in countries like Russia and Latam and Brazil, where offline goes down -5 or -10, where currencies go down 50% in 1 year. We've been growing in those markets between 20 and 30%. What does that mean? Our market share increases dramatically. And so with over 2.7 billion euros in 1.8 in Rocket, 750 in the fund, a few hundred millions or a billion in the individual companies, we have 2.5 to 3 billion markets, what reach 3 billion cash. We just need to continue what we do. Invest in great companies, support them with everything, and not be distracted by emerging market, hot, cold, mature market, hot, cold, internet, hot, cold, venture capital, hot, cold, startups, hot, cold, or rocket, hot, cold.
So as far as I understand it, and then we will get some questions from you, so prepare yourself. We will take 3 questions, 4 questions. So it seems like, look, Rocket went public. Obviously, you surprised with the IPO back then, lots of people. Now it has been a bit up, down, up, down, up, down. But you're saying the most important thing is my companies are funded. It may take a little bit longer. It may go sideways, but at the end, offline will go down, online will rise, and we will win. And it sounds to me like it's not necessarily on autopilot, but you guys know what you're doing, and therefore you have a little bit more time focusing on new investments, and the letterbox is open for great entrepreneurs looking for a partner. Is that?
I think it's a good summary. The one that's not correct sidewards. I think we're going continuously upwards, not the share price, but the companies. And but sometimes, you know, you have that growth and kind of your losses are still very high. Sometimes kind of you accept to grow a little slower because the entire emerging markets are not getting more funding. So you accept to go 25% growth, but you focus on a 30% improvement of profitability. So I think life as a startup, as a founder, is a marathon. It's fundamentally, if you want to run it our way, it's probably a marathon of sprints. It's people are kind of like, some people basically throw difficulties at us or write medium nice articles about us.
How much time does it take?
I'm not reading it, and I look only at the share price when I'm in the queue anyway, so wasting my time. So I have a pretty good life.
Okay, okay. So let's take some questions from the audience. And for the interest of time, I'm going to sprint. Okay, if you just speak in the mic without kissing me.
Hi, my name's Chris Verlaine. I'm a reporter for.
Maybe we need another mic.
A reporter, so we're not taking questions from the press, Marco.
He's actually an entrepreneur.
I'll just tell you.
This is your computer.
Hi, my name is Christopher Spillane. I'm a reporter for Politico. I just wanted to get your view on whether the center of gravity for Europe's tech market moves away from the UK towards more continental Europe in the event of a Brexit.
Oh. Brexit, yeah.
Very political.
So I would like the UK to stay within the European Union. Obviously, that's for all startups, I think, a much easier way. You can send people there, you can recruit people there, and all the advantages of a free market in Europe. Obviously, the English have to decide that for themselves. I think if there is a Brexit, if you want a speculative answer, I would definitely say that it's a disadvantage for a UK-based company, and therefore I would say probably it will slightly move. I think today, if you look at the way we look at it, we find a lot of great companies in London. We find a lot of great companies in Berlin, in Hamburg, in Berlin, in Paris, in Spain, yeah? I think the good thing in Europe is everyone always complains we don't have a Silicon Valley, but look at the good side. It's good that we have a lot of mini Disney Silicon Valleys, yeah? And I think that's pretty good because it makes it makes the entire job creation, wealth creation, democratization of chances and opportunities a much fairer place, not so concentrated. So, summary, I think it's not good, but also will not kill the London ecosystem.
Hello. Hello? Yeah, Tobias Schlitzke, my name. I was always reading that Rocket Internet said we want to be the #1 besides in the US and China. Is that nothing, maybe in 5 or 10 years, that is your secret passion? Because as I know you and Rocket, you guys want to be the #1, that you say there will be a point that you guys are trying to re-attack China and the US?
So we have a pretty significant business already, HelloFresh in America. It's a very big business. It's not in the millions and not in the dozens of millions, but more. We are considering to take another company of ours to the United States. So I would say the United States, we try, like in Asterix, Obelix, we come like Asterix in those United States. We are very careful. We take only a very small number. But if an entrepreneur comes to us and says, his vision is to go to America, he thinks his product will sell there, I think we are supporting. I do think that has changed. Will we become #1 in America? Not. We are realistic and so on. But I think we'll build and support a number of laser-focused, successful companies in the United States. I think China is, I think we are building our understanding of the market. We understand much more the business model that they're working over there. We have now basically sold once to a Chinese company, so I think we understand the way they look at companies and build a network there. But maybe let's wait for NOAH in 3, 4, 5 years, then I can give you a clear answer there.
Oliver, my name is Monty. I'm an entrepreneur turned investor, and I'm curious, you're doing so many things at the same time. You also say that focus is a key topic. So how do you keep track with all the activities? I would normally ask what keeps you up at night, but I have to ask, how can you sleep?
So our problem is we love companies. Yeah, it's very difficult in our team, kind of like we have a strong tendency, whereas other people might say, if there's doubt, rather not do it. We probably do, if there's doubt, we do it. Yeah? And I think we are very fast because for us, there are certain decisions, certain parameters like the founder and the idea itself that are most important. How do we keep track? First of all, we are not a small team. Yeah? We tap into a lot of resources. In total, we have over 350 people. If you look at the number of investment professionals, it's roughly 30 people that just kind of like go and see companies, but then basically they have an account manager, basically someone who's responsible for a startup and says, okay, I'm responsible to support this company, and then he can tap into our SEO specialists, into our business intelligence specialist, into our CTO. We yesterday went so far to give one of our CTOs to support one of our other companies even for a longer period of time. In the end, we want the company to be as successful. And I think that's a power that we've built over 16 years. We're not a 2 or 3 year old VC firm or something. We built that over a long period of time. And we have a good reporting team and so on. But in the end, I think it's about each individual companies and their needs. And I think that we've grown to be very good at.
I have one more question.
No, not you again. No.
So when you went public with Rocket and you had the management teams on the roadshow, are these people still around or you replaced some of them?
Every single person, let me think about, every single person was on the road. Peter, our CFO, Alex, my deputy, Johannes, our head of product, Christian, our CTO. I think those were all, those are the, yeah, they are all with us.
Portfolio companies?
Of the portfolio companies, one not because he's sold to Alibaba with the Chinese. Yeah. So I think, but fundamentally everyone, HelloFresh, Global Fashion. Yeah, I think every one of our larger companies still the same person. And I think that's what you mentioned at the very beginning. I think we're very good at, once we have a great person, go win your markets, take whatever you want from Rocket, but we're not going to burden you with reporting, with all the board work all the time, because I think every entrepreneur needs all of his time to focus on his companies.
Well, thank you very much on that. So you have the capital, you have the people, and you certainly have the market opportunity. So we wish you the best of luck to achieve this. But before you let you off stage, we have a consultant here, Karel from McKinsey, who normally provides the answers. But I want him to ask his one question. Please.
Marco is setting us up here. Ollie, as we are consulting largely the big companies, and they want to get into the startup world, try to fund themselves some spin-offs, but how could they work best with Rocket? I mean, have the big global 500 doing stuff together with you guys?
So first of all, you should know the answers. If we had a company together about 15 years ago, our first, yeah? So I didn't know that you were allowed to ask questions here.
Got his permission.
Yeah, you really, audience, friends, foes, everything's now allowed to ask. Press, yeah. So, yeah, investors, yeah, politicians. So I think fundamentally, I think there are now, in my view, a lot of smart digital large companies. Yeah, so I must say, if I look at companies like Allianz, yeah, the new CEO, he's all into digital. Yeah, he wants it, and he's humble enough to say, and I think that's the number one thing you need, a humble CEO, which is very difficult for a large company. Yeah, you run 200,000 people, 50 million market cap, 50 billion market cap. So, but a humble CEO who says, I get my organization to work with startups, with companies like Rocket, with, I know, a venture capitalist in America or something. And the way I think to interact is very simple. I think we set up a meeting. You have my email, yeah, so don't pretend to not have it. Yeah, but basically you have my email. And basically we set up a meeting and we have an open 1 or 2 hour first discussion. How would we attack your business? Yeah? And that's an interesting case, actually, the way you asked me now. We recently had that with a very large company. And this company, a lot of people felt very safe in this company. They said, we have a market cap of 50 billion, we have 4 billion in profit, and we have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of employees, and we have knowledge over 80 years. So we said, how would we attack your company? Very simple. We would hire only the 20 smartest. We hire 20 people. Then basically, we would, with the knowledge of those people and digital, we would start a company. Then we would raise money, etc. And then we would later go IPO and raise more money and build that. And that's exactly what Tesla did. Tesla, you know, fundamentally, if you look at them, all the great people they have in the company, they just hired the smartest people from Toyota, from Aston Martin, everything. And so I think a humble CEO understands someone to disrupt us needs only the smartest people out of my organization. He gives them equity in the company. He raises a lot of money. He gets punished because he basically, if he invests in internet, his profit goes down, his market cap will down. The other guy, the more losses he makes, the higher the market cap. Yeah, so basically it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, and then basically can hire even more companies, yeah, and more hire people. And but there's a lot of truth in that. To attack a Daimler, to attack an insurance company, a bank, it's a limited of number of people you just take out. And I think that kind of discussion we enjoy. That kind of discussion makes sense to interact. And then you invite startups and so on that actually do this disruption, or you build a company together, which will also happen next 5 years.
So I call you and don't write email, but I call you directly.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.